Assembled festive guests. Now, you can all imagine what I really would want to say today, but cannot say so because we are, of course, very much confined by, well, the dulcis et decorum, and there's others who should take center stage with their presentation today. Dear Federal Chancellor, Prime Minister, dear honorary citizen Hans-Georg Näder, ladies and gentlemen. 100 years of Ottobock is a memorable day, and for all of us, a wonderful day. Thank God, with plenty of sunshine and with a very moving, emotional, ecumenical service that really was quite profound. Dear Pastor Christina Abel and Kurz Bernd Kalusken, with a very festively adorned inner city with countless citizens and pupils outside the town hall who welcomed the Chancellor and the Prime Minister to sing the Song of Eichsfeld and the European hymn, with thousands of listeners in the live stream for the first time in this form. And Christina Miller over here on the piano, and of course what we are particularly delighted with, the great brass band of the Eichsfeld High School, and with all of you here as our guests of honor, as friends and companions along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to just pick out a few from this illustrious circle of guests, just a few select personalities. Our Federal President, Christian Wulff. For all the parliamentarians, our Vice President of the German Federal Parliament, Thomas Oppermann. Former Prime Minister, Dieter Althaus. From the big Ottobock family, Ursula Grunau, Harry Berz, Adolf Stender, Philipp Schulte-Nölle, and Heinrich Popov. From the neighborhood, our Nobel Prize winner, if I may say so, Professor Dr. Stephan Held and Professor Dr. Erwin Näder. And, of course, for all of you, for us, our honorary Mayor Lothar Koch and our local administrator. For all those from far and near, our friend Peter Maffei, and of course, Mrs. Professor Dr. Rita Süßmuth, who celebrated her birthday only yesterday. And with that, welcome and congratulations to you, Mrs. Süßmuth. We're celebrating 100 years of Ottobock over the time. February 1919, at the end of the devastating First World War, Ottobock founds his startup to help those wounded by the war, to grant them new mobility. In 1945, then at the end of the Second World War, his operations are nationalized and expelled. Max Näder, son-in-law of Ottobock, susses out new potential sites. And in that, he actually comes to Duderstadt on his push bike and stays, thank God, in Duderstadt. And then, for me, in this big time frame, September of 1961, the birth of Professor Hans-Georg Näder in the St. Martini Hospital in Duderstadt. Thereupon, we can hear, of course, just from the family history, it was at 6 o'clock in the morning, Hans-Georg, that you were born. And yes. Thereupon, Duderstadt, by Max Näder, and later, above all, Hans-Georg Näder, both forced, we see the start of a dynamic, forward-looking development that reaches out far and near, from the startup to the world market leader. And we may say, what a blessing, what a felicitous ordination for this region. Therefore, I'd like to say, for the city and the region, congratulations on your 100th birthday. And from the depth of my heart, I wish to express my gratitude to the family of Ottobock and Hans and Max Georg Näder, to the daughters, Georgia and Julia. Thank you for your lived loyalty to the site, for countless prompts for the city and region's development. Thanks for huge investments. Thanks for permanent offering of apprenticeships, vocational training, and thanks for being so closely integrated with our service providers, suppliers in economic and logistic areas, and thanks also for the exemplary social, charitable, and non-profit commitment you have shown here. And above all, thank you for such an excellent perspective you're offering for the future, which we, time and again in the last few days, have spoken and marveled about. Now, visible for this gratitude, you will find, since last week, now, and planned of course for many, many years, the Ottobock Street in Duderstadt has been renamed accordingly. And of course, if you then find that the Federal Chancellor also comes round for a visit, Dr. Angela Merkel, despite her full timetable, she finds the time. And of course, dear Mrs. Federal Chancellor, we all, of course, followed what had been happening at the Security Conference in Munich the last 2 days. If you, as a Federal Chancellor, come around for this family jubilee, then this is an expression of the greatest appreciation and the greatest recognition we can only be grateful for. And we all, dear Federal Chancellor, know how grateful we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. Now, this holds true not just for our federal state of Lower Saxony, but of course also for our Prime Minister Stephan Weil. Dear Prime Minister, welcome here, and the floor is yours. Federal Chancellor, Dr. Merkel, Mr. President Wolf, Vice President Oppermann, on behalf of all the colleagues from the various parliamentarians, Mayor Nolte, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this invitation, which I gladly followed like everybody else here with us. It does have its good reason that this 100-year corporate anniversary, well, how shall I put it, is indeed finding such a remarkable response. I do know corporate anniversaries that receive less attention. Now, what is the reason for that? To summarize it, I think with Ottobock we are really looking at an exceptional case of what I call German Mittelstand, German medium-sized companies. Now, there's very few German terms that have made it into the English language, but German Mittelstand is just such a point in case. Now, you may recall, what was it, more than 10 years ago, the world financial crisis, the subprime crisis, when everyone was surprised how quickly Germany came back on its feet. And at the time, I recall quite well, one answer was that received international attention: it is due to the German Mittelstand. Now, if you consider this, there's a few characteristics that speak for these medium-sized companies. They are normally companies of a size easy to, well, survey, or at least initially so. Then they are companies that are highly innovative. They're companies that dared very early on and have been very consistent in the implementation to start with that local focus and then go global and consistently go global. And these are companies which in their niches are world market leaders today. And that is what one worldwide noticed and deems or considers the byword for the German Mittelstand. And now, within that group, you will find that the family-run companies, once again, are a very special, well, kettle. And a large part of that German Mittelstand here is family-run. But what makes them so special? Well, by my experience that I've made with them, I'd say they all are companies that think in generations. They don't think in quarterly reports, but in generations. They think themselves also of part and parcel of a larger chain. And it is also their concern to be not only successful today, but also in their family, in their generations, to forward that staff to the next generation. And that's also a typical example for family-run companies. They are normally companies that have a particular loyalty to their workforce. Often also they will find generations of families working in the same company. And above all, they have a loyalty also to the site where they have the operations. Now, if you string together all these features, just to say in a mental image, you will agree with me. Ottobock is a particularly good example and case for the German Mittelstand. All the features I've mentioned are here in a wonderful way to be found combined. Because starting out from Duderstadt, Ottobock went all over the world with over 7,000 employees. And in my preparation, I still learned 50 representations worldwide, but now I know it's actually 55. It's more than 50, it's 55. And on top of that, you will find it is a company with a very specific purpose. It has a very particular mission, and I think this makes this company stand out and makes it even more sympathetic than others, because that corporate purpose is, to put it briefly, to help others to make their life easier. And that, indeed, is a nice corporate purpose. The products you build offer customers who don't fare so easy, don't have it so easy. They give them a new opportunity for completely new life quality that they have to develop for themselves. Many, well, we of course know very practical examples of this. With it, you give many people an opening, what we in German call inclusion, the possibility to participate in civic life quite normally. And I'd say a company that manages to, well, be a through and through humane company with a humane purpose and to combine this with entrepreneurial success and still to be highly innovative. Such a company, well, all you can do is you can only congratulate it. You can only say you've done everything right. And I mean, if I've understood it correctly, you're not just looking back, you're looking to the future as well, because you want to help people who have no impairment, no physical impairment, but who sometimes have to work very physically, very harsh. And I think this also is very humane, very friendly to us humans. So there's plenty of reasons to say thank you after these 100 years. Thank you to the customers, the customer base, but also an express thank you to the country of Lower Saxony. Because alongside the many employees of Ottobock, because of course it's a comprehensive, it's a holistic achievement, I'd like to say thank you also to the family, to Hans-Georg Näder, to the daughters, Georgia and Julia, but also all family members. It is indeed a great entrepreneurial achievement that we are celebrating here and today. And I think this needs to be stressed and put center stage for once and today. Because of course at the end of it, it's many, many people that chip in this overall composite success. But without that family that through generations worked hard, I'm convinced you will also continue to work hard on this. But without that family, we wouldn't be here today, and Ottobock wouldn't be the company that it is worth our while to celebrate. So thank you very much for this achievement, and with that gratitude, I also combine my best wishes for, shall I say, at least the next 100 years of Ottobock. Very few of us will be in a position to experience, of course, that next 200-year anniversary, although, well, if I consider your innovative drive correctly, I'm not so sure whether that might not be the case after all. So, I wish the company Ottobock, I wish the family Näder and all the employees all the success and all the passion and joy in their work, which means that at the end of the day, all your customers, in many ways, are a lot more felicitous than they were at the start. Thank you very much for your attention. I can only recommend, try tonight to stand on one leg and then leap up on your kitchen top. I can tell you, it's gonna go array. I promise you. Dear guests, my dear worldwide Ottobock family, I must say, my beloved worldwide Ottobock family, dear Markus Brennecke, for our junior partner EQT, dear Georgia and dear Julia, esteemed Federal Chancellor, dear Angela Merkel. A few days ago, you were bestowed with the internationally renowned Fulbright Prize, and in Berlin you were granted that prize. I may quote, "The Fulbright Association is of the conviction that the Federal Chancellor Merkel has her leadership role in times of global crisis and challenges completed in an outstanding manner and fulfills it in an outstanding manner." End of quote. I say thank you, dear Angela Merkel. And only yesterday, from Munich, I just heard you gave a great speech, and the whole world is envious for our Federal Chancellor, and this is honestly so. You stand for a multilateral, value and rule-based world order, for a forward-looking Europe carried through and supported by people, and hopefully also inclusive of our British friends. You stand for peace and prosperity in times of a new nascent populism and nationalism. And we want to focus together on our values and the social market economy. Because this Christian humanistic set of values has been a steadfast platform for peace and prosperity for 70 years. And we don't really need any new values, no. We just need to meet and fulfill, well, our social responsibility and do so together. Dear Angela Merkel, welcome very much from the depth of our heart here to our home, to this my family. And dear associates, dear employees, for this historic moment, also welcome to you. I spoke with the little children outside the town hall early on, and I said, "You're lucky, you don't have to go to school today, because the Federal Chancellor, I mean, she's a lot better than school." And yes, indeed, the entire, well, troop of school children is heading off to the ice cream parlor to get their ice cream for the day. There's a movie series called Babylon Berlin, and I think many, like me, have stayed awake all night to watch it. And of course, in watching it, I mean, the two of us, we are, well, faithful Buchgängers. We found quite a few parallels of the Berlin of 2019 and the historic Berlin portrayed in those broadcasts. 100 years of Weimar Republic, 100 years of Bauhaus. I'm a great fan, of course, of Bauhaus. And 100 years of Ottobock. So you can see the cocktail of historic events from start-up to start-up is, well, nothing else but, shall we say, a placeholder. Of course, start-up means nothing else but a foundation. And we were, of course, also on the way from a start-up to a world company. Allow me to quote my grandmother, Marie Bock, and my mother, Marie Näder. Marie Bock on the foundation in 1919, I quote, "At the end of the First World War, with the many amputees that we need to take care of, for him, Ottobock, it was obvious that the swiftest and best supply was vitally important for them. What every company could do, every workshop could do, they produced their own, well, limbs, which then supplemented or repaired by other workshops. With a few, well, experts and financiers, I think that was the word for venture capitalists at the time, he then established at the start of 1919 in Berlin the Orthopedic Industry GmbH in Kreuzberg in Köpenicker Straße. And for all those from Berlin, everybody familiar with Berlin, it was opposite the Club Spindler and Platt, where the one and the other of you, I'm sure, will have spent day and night partying in that club. But my mother, Maria Näder, in her memories, and of course my mother was, when she fell in love with my father, I mean, she was the daughter of the boss and now falls in love with his apprentice. Well, and of course both were from Potsdam, Hermannswerder, and of course my father had to go to the Technical University to study mechanical engineering. Then Ottobock told him, You guy, you learn something first of all, and we'll talk about it later whether you can marry my daughter. I mean, today, we know it's a little, well, easier going, that. Well, at least with us, it's easier going. But not just with the children, but also the way the children communicate with their father, for example. So, Marie Näder in her memories, I quote, "In the flying bullets, my mother would tell me often how, as a young couple, after the First World War and thereafter, up until 1919, they lived in Berlin. And how, in 1919, she was in the charity hospital where my brother Wolfgang was born. The Spartakusts were fighting outside on the streets, and there was no power, no heating, and no water in the hospital, and the bullets were flying just outside and flying over the roof of the hospital. In those days, something happened that was also to do with the artificial limbs, which my father was carrying under his armpit to bring it to the public supply unit, and it was then hit by a stray bullet. It takes courage, I can tell you, the certitude and hope, and of course the trust in God, which my family always had, and it was always these bases on the trust in Christian humanistic values, and with this, shall we say, tool set, they were able to survive nationalization, the plight of having to flee, and of course all other calamities. And this set of beliefs was something that was a constant in the life of my parents and one that kept them going. Maria Näder, about her adventurous trip from Königssee to Hamburg, I quote, "After in the August of 1945, I returned home and received the first news that my husband was in Hamburg. I, in October in 45, as soon as I had the first opportunity, crossed the border illegally. My father wanted me to stay in Königssee, but at the end of the day, he did send me with the Attorney General as a protector to the trip to Hamburg. For the Russian guards on the border, well, we took a few watches and a bit of liquor to switch and swap with them, also to receive forged passing documents. In my rucksack, I had, apart from a suit for my husband, very little to carry, because of course, you know, Königssee is positioned between Duderstadt and Ilmenau, and the parents, after the war, met again, my father and my mother. As you heard, he was a prisoner of war in Africa, where he had fought, and therefore in British captivity. And the first point where they could meet again was the bombed-out Inland Revenue Services in Hamburg. And Father Näder would tell me, well, one of his most lovely and passionate nights to, well, set fire to the fiscal return documents and to have a warming fire there in a bombed-out building. And Mr. Näder is grateful to me today because he had, obviously, well, a great night. Maria Näder, at the start of 1946, I quote, "There was a telegram I received in the evening. We found facilities in Duderstadt." Well, we didn't know where Duderstadt was, did we? Those who know the family history know that none of our family had an inkling where Duderstadt was. And suddenly, of course, well, my brother came up with the idea, well, Wolfgang, excuse me for saying so, that this was in the Eisfeld region. And he said, oh, this is really the neck of the woods. Max Näder's first arrival in Duderstadt was on a hired push bike on the 11th of November of 45. It was quite a legendary moment in our corporate history because it was cold, wet and drizzling with snow when he arrives in November. It's slippery, as he says, when he was pushing his bike through the western gate. I travel down the market road and suddenly see on the left-hand side the sign Orthopedic Workshop Ernst Koda. End of quote of Max Näder. He said, well, a guardian angel really sent me here. The German unification to follow and the miracle of the peaceful revolution was one that my parents kept dreaming about, but never dared they would see it in their lifetime. And when then, in another cold November night, the Iron Curtain opened up, the border opened up, and Wolfgang Kota and 50,000 other people from Ober-Eisfeld suddenly streamed over here into the west. I remember I returned home, and my father had just lit a fire in the house and put on loud music, the national anthem played by the army brass band. And I think, he actually danced on the table that night because for him that was the greatest joy imaginable. And of course, it was also our step back into Königssee, because when we then received nationalized properties from Ottobock, when we bought it back, from the Fiduciary Institute, and of course we always followed the creed, don't lament, just keep going, just get at it. And we just established and accepted the power of the factual, and now, of course, we had 3,000 employees again in Thuringia. Now, 70 years we've been back in Duderstadt, and it's been our home. Our drive, all our growth always driven by inquisitiveness, curiosity, a global presence, and, of course, by the factor of the human being. And many amongst us here today, from the company, former employees and the likes, or institutions that have assisted us, that accompanied us on our history, they know that this success would have been impossible without them. And therefore, I would like to express my gratitude to all our customers, everybody accompanying us, and I would like to do so from the depth of my heart. So, don't lament, just keep going, just get at it. That was our creed. So I'm infinitely grateful that we managed it, that we showed it. It's a privilege. It's a privilege also to be a global family made up of all cultures and all religions, with the claim to provide quality for life for the future. So thanks also to my employees, our customers, and indeed also thanks to you here. Trust in our brand, in our products and services.
Phil, welcome, Sir Phil Graven, Honorary President of the International Paralympic Committee, and Jocelyn, welcome to you. I always say welcome to Phil and his lovely wife. Phil, I know that you are well connected on the island. If you can do us a favor and stop the Brexit, then it's a great deal.
An early commitment to the idea of Paralympic Games, and you know now, it's 30 years now that we've been on board. The preparation for Tokyo 2020, the preparations are ongoing, flat out, investments in the brand and with the Science Center, and that's to Berlin with our brand identity. The Science Center of the last years has seen well over 1 million visitors in the last year. Thanks, of course, to the Potsdamer Platz location and the people interested in the mobility of people. Disruptive innovations, well, ever since the foundation of our station in Berlin, we started the serial production of the modular leg prosthetic elements, modular limb systems, the first mechatronic leg prosthesis, the C-leg, and the first mind control prosthetic limbs. So, curiosity has always triggered path-breaking innovations, and we don't have to be so envious looking across the Atlantic to America, because I think curiosity in orthopedic technology and engineering has always been a dramatic benefactor for people with a handicap. The human being takes center stage to this day for us. There's hardly a sector in medical engineering that takes innovation, quality of life, and health benefits so serious and so meaningfully combines them as ours. In our 100th years since our foundation, the Ottobock SE will for the first time make revenues exceeding 1 billion, also thanks to the digital transformation which takes orthopedic technology, cloud printers, cloud technology and digital printers and revolutionize our production facilities. So, dear customers and associates along the way, without the little innovation and without the capacity to quarrel, you won't, of course, make any headway. Now, thanks to artificial intelligence, robotics and bionics, we know that the engineering is permeating all our life areas. the permeation of machine and man affects also our workspace. As a consequence, what we need is a social and a political debate about the ethical limits and boundaries of the technologies coming our way. As I have tried to start together with the Stahl publication house in the Bud series Future Mobility to develop a narrative for the further development of Homo sapiens, to become not just a Homo sapiens, but become a Homo technologicus. And now, early this morning, I read here in the German commercial paper Handelsblatt, there's something interesting that I'd like to share with you. Family-run companies know that they need to digitize and have to think in new business models. But it becomes more and more apparent that also those dynasties behind these family corporations need to professionalize and shape up. Otherwise, their success model of family-run companies and the German Mittelstand might be in danger. So therefore, here as well, our mid-sized companies that are family-run, we need to, well, renovate and show great interest in the digital transformation and also be drivers in that transformation. I keep saying digital transformation is something for the boss and starts right at the top, and it's only the CEOs and bosses who can drive it forward. Now, something that's been burning on my soul is, of course, the last few years, is the German automotive industry. I was only last week in New York, and many people, of course, in New York, in that hotel, said, what's happening in Germany? What's happening to your automotive industry? I'd like to issue the call. We need a social, well, understanding that we don't drown our automotive industry, because it's, of course, a key industry, not just in Lower Saxony. And to that end, the politicians, but also the CEOs in the companies need to come together and create reliable framework conditions to make a future possible, at least here in Germany. And automotive, well, that's, I mean, it's like our genes, in our German genes, and I don't understand the bosses at the automotive industry, what they've done with Dieselgate. Why have they done that, the diesel scandal? For me, it is, well, it's a scandal that's costing us workplaces, as we will experience and find out in the upcoming half year. But it's not just the automotive industry. Without massive investments in education, in infrastructure, and in the digital transformation, the future won't happen here in Germany. And we need a nationwide 5G network. Otherwise, we can't print and we can't scan, and we can't work in algorithms and artificial intelligence and develop with it and within them. We are ready. We are ready for the generation Näder 4.0, the fourth generation, is ready under Philipp Schulte-Möller. We've empowered, as we call it, our management. We brought fresh blood to the fore. We are putting metal to the pedal, heading forward into the future, and we do so also empathetically for what we are doing. What's very close to my heart, and of course, as you all know, is Paralympic sports. Dear Heinrich, now that you told me that you want to do let's dance on ice, I'm a bit apprehensive and a bit afraid for you and your well-being, but allow me to introduce Heinrich Popper. Heinrich, could you join me please here on stage? 30-time European champion, world record holder, gold medal winner, Heinrich Popper. Heinrich, welcome. Now, let's roll that clip. London 2012, we can see how fast Heinrich can actually run.
But I think he's the one standing up, but it'll be too short a distance for him. And away they go. And it's the Australian who's leading the way at the moment. Reardon from Australia. But on his left, Popow of Germany. It's the Australian Reardon Popow from Germany. What a great race that is. Heinrich Popow of Germany just getting it ahead of Scott Reardon from Australia.
Great race. Shows me I shouldn't have changed horses, right?
You were on the right horse and you jumped.
Heinrich, ich lasse dir für ein paar Minuten
I'll leave the stage for you for a few minutes.
Vielleicht nachher
because
auch noch ein paar Gedanken
Maybe
zu
you can tell us a little more
Normalität
about,
versus
well,
Inklusion
normality
in
and inclusion in your
Versuche
daily
das
life.
sehr kurz zu halten.
I wish you
Ich
a
wünsche
pleasant
Ihnen
day.
schönen Tag.
Thank you very much
Vielen
for
Dank für Ihr
your
Kommen.
coming here. Dear
Liebe
Angela Merkel, Germany
Deutschland ist
is,
schon
well,
auch
in good
gut
shape.
verfasst.
I
Als ich
was
eben
sitting
in
in
der
church
Kirche gesessen habe
beforehand, and when we
wir
sang
gesungen
that
haben,
great
großer Gott,
hymnus,
wir loben dich,
Great God, we praise
kann
thee,
man
you can at
zumindest
least
sagen,
say, Wolfgang Nolte,
Wolfgang
Nolte
Nolte,
Koch,
Lothar Koch,
the
im
world
Eisfeld ist die
is
Welt in
in
Ordnung.
order here in the Icefeld. And not just today,
Und
no,
nicht nur heute.
we're doing well here. Ladies and gentlemen,
Meine sehr verehrten Damen und
dear
Herren,
guests
liebe
of honor,
Ehrengäste,
dear Georgia, dear Julia,
liebe Julia,
and
lieber
Georg, where do you want me to
wo
start?
soll ich anfangen? Wie will
How
man
do you want to say
einer
thanks
Familie
to a
danken,
family
die
that
dafür
is responsible
zuständig ist, dass
for putting me up
man
here
hier
on
oben
stage
steht mit
with
Lebensmut und
quality of life
Lebensqualität?
and courage, pluck,
bin extrem
courage.
stolz
I'm
und
extremely proud
froh, dass
and
ich heute
honored
die Ehre habe,
to speak
im
here
Namen
on behalf
aller
of
Menschen mit
all and everybody
Mobilitätseinschränkungen
with a
bei
physical
der Familie
impairment
sich zu
and to
bedanken.
use this opportunity to say thank you to you.
Es ist
This is
ein
an exceptional
außergewöhnliches
jubilee,
Jubiläum
and as
und
we
wir haben
heard
eben
in the
Kirche schon
church,
gehört, dass die
that
Zahl
the
100
figure of
sehr
100 is a
wichtig
useful
ist.
one. It
Sie
changes
verändert
human
Menschenleben.
lives.
Wir
As we
haben
saw
hier
in the
im
video,
eben gesehen,
that
dass
my life
auch mein Leben
also
durch die Zahl 100
was
sehr
affected
prägend
by the
verändert
figure of
worden ist.
100.
Und du hast eben darüber gesprochen, dass du
And
gerne
up here we
revolutionierst.
see a revolution
Hier oben
by
steht
you
eine
and your family, and I'm very
Revolution von dir
grateful
und deiner
to you
Familie. Und
and
dafür
to
bin
your
ich dir
family.
sehr, sehr dankbar.
It's this one moment after the
Es ist
amputation,
dieser eine Moment, wo du
or
nach der
after that moment of
Amputation
faith,
oder nach
when you
deinem
wake up
Schicksalsschlag
on your
aufwachst im
big
Krankenbett und an dir
sick bed, on your hospital
runterschaust,
bed,
so wie
and
es jetzt
you
bei
see
mir war, und dann die
something
Decke
missing.
einfach ganz flach
First
auf
of all, you
dem
feel
Bett liegt.
everything's taken from you.
Zunächst einmal wird
You
dir
somehow
alles
try
genommen.
to reconnect with
Versuchst irgendwie
society.
wieder zurück in die
And of
Gesellschaft zu
course,
kommen,
it's a
in die
battle, it's a
Gesellschaft
fight, it's a
geprägt von
struggle. Just
Kampf
to
und immer wieder,
remind
wenn du
yourself
weißt, dass
you
man
can live,
lebensfähig
you
ist,
can be
dass
happy,
man
and then of
glücklich
course, then
ist.
your family
Und dann ist das private
surroundings
Umfeld und
are
die
vitally
Familie sind
important.
diejenigen,
Those
die an einen
that
glauben
can
und
help
immer
you
wieder
to
einem
be the
dabei
person you
helfen,
want to be.
die Person zu
And
sein,
when I
die man
speak
auch
about
sein
family,
möchte.
I'd also, of course,
Und bei dem
like to speak
Stichpunkt
of you.
Familie, da möchte ich auch bei dir
Because whenever we met,
Du
when we
hast immer
spoke
wieder, wenn
about
wir uns getroffen
innovations,
haben, nie
you always kept
über
encouraging me,
Innovationen
and you always
gesprochen.
said, it's
Du
very
hast mir immer wieder
important
gesagt,
for
wie
you
wichtig
that
es ist,
family,
Familie,
reliability, and
Verlässlichkeit, die
honesty
Ehrlichkeit
are
und der
so
Glaube
vitally important,
zueinander.
and also the faith in
Und das hast
yourself.
du mit
And you've
mir
done
auch
so
immer
with
gemacht.
me
Das hat
time and
deine
again.
Familie mit Menschen mit
That
Behinderung auf der ganzen
you
Welt
did
gemacht.
to me and to the family
Es ist schwer,
of
auf
people
Leute
with
zu treffen mit
impairment.
Behinderung, die sagen, das
And
kannst du,
it's
das
hard
willst
to
du
meet
machen.
others with such an
Und deine
impairment to say,
Familie
you
und
can
du,
do
die
that,
gehören dazu.
you can,
Sie sind die treibenden
achieve that.
Personen in der Welt,
but you've done
wenn
so.
es darum geht, um die
You
Möglichkeiten von
have,
Behinderung
as a family,
auszuschöpfen.
always allowed me to make
hast
the
eben Let's
most
Dance
of my
angesprochen,
impairment. I mean, you
tanzen.
spoke, let's dance and dancing,
Meine
yes
Mama hat
indeed.
irgendwann mal zu mir
I mean, somebody
gesagt,
told me
nach meiner
that after my
Amputation,
amputation,
Junge, wie
oh
wird denn dein
God,
Hochzeitstanz
what's it going to
aussehen?
be like for you to dance that first
Dann konnte ich
dance
den Wiener
at
Walzer
your wedding?
tanzen mit
But
der
then, thanks
Technologie,
to
die
your
deine
technology,
Familie
I was
zur
able to
Verfügung
dance the
stellt.
Viennese waltz.
Und meine Mama hat keinen
And
einzigen Wettkampf
My
von mir
mother,
gesehen.
she's not seen a
Keinen.
single of
Keine
my
Goldmedaille.
competitive runs,
Das
not
war
a
ihr
gold
zu viel.
medal.
Sie
She
hat
always
immer
felt that's
gesagt,
too much.
Kind,
She
hör
always said,
bitte auf damit.
boy,
Du
stop
verletzt
it.
dich mit dem
You'll
gesunden Bein.
damage your healthy
Aber
leg.
den Wiener
But
Walzer, den hat
the
sie sich
Viennese
angeguckt.
waltz, that's something she definitely looked
Was
at,
ich
the
dir
one I
damit
danced at
sagen
my
wollte,
wedding. So
sind
what I want to say with that is,
diese kleinen
it's
Dinge,
the
die
small
das Leben
things that make
ausmachen, die das
life
Leben lebensfroh
worth
machen.
living.
Und ich möchte dir
And,
nochmal ganz herzlich
and
dafür
I meant to say
danken,
thanks
dass
to you
du
once more
immer an
for
das
believing,
glaubst, dass du die
believing
Innovationen
in
vorantreibst,
how innovation can be driven
dass du uns
forward,
immer die
and that you
Möglichkeiten
give
gibst,
us the
unsere Grenzen
possibilities
selber
to test out
auszutesten
our
und
own
uns nicht
borders and limits, so that you
ausbremst.
don't keep us and
Danke
hold us back.
deinem
Thanks to you, to your
Danke
corporation, to
für
your
die
company.
DNA des
Thanks to
Unternehmens.
that
Vielen Dank dafür, dass
genes
wir die
you
Menschen
foster in
sein
this
dürfen,
company.
die wir sein
Thanks for
wollen.
letting us be the people
Du
we
hast
want
eben
to
was
be.
gesagt, ich
As you
soll das
said,
ansprechen und das
you said I should mention
ist für
something
mich
that
auch
is
eine
very
Bitte, liebe
close to
Frau
me.
Merkel.
Dear Mrs. Merkel,
Ottobock hat schon
Ottobock
damals
already
bewiesen,
proved
wie
at the
wichtig es
time
ist,
how
die
important it is
Individualität des Menschen zu
to
fördern.
foster the individuality of
Mit
each
der Erfindung
person.
der modularen
With the
Bauweise
invention
hat
of
das
the
ermöglicht,
modular
jeden Menschen
kit,
individuell zu
it
fördern
has seen
und auch die
all of
Möglichkeiten
us
geschaffen, Lebensqualität und Lebensmut
well,
zu schaffen.
regain life quality and
Tun Sie uns
courage
einen Gefallen und lassen Sie uns das Thema
dare
Inklusion zum
to allow us to make
Thema der
inclusion a
Normalität
matter of normality.
Wir wollen nicht
We don't want to be
anders
treated
behandelt
any way
werden. Wir wollen
different.
nicht am
We
Rande
don't want to
der
live
Gesellschaft
on
erwähnt
the
werden.
perimeter of
Wir wollen
society.
Teilnehmer
We
in
want
der
to be
Mitte der
right in the
Gesellschaft und
center
wollen
of
unseren
society.
Lebensmut als Stärke der Gesellschaft zur Verfügung stellen. Und deswegen lassen Sie uns gemeinsam an der Normalität arbeiten. Vielen Dank
It's
dafür
therefore,
und vielen
well,
Dank für
My honor
dass ich ein
to
Teil
be
von
a
Ottobock
member
sein
of the
darf.
Ottobock family.
Das ist
They've made me to who I
mittlerweile
am,
meine
and thank you
Familie, weil
very
sie auch
much
immer
for
an
that.
mich geglaubt hat und mich zu dem Menschen gemacht hat, der ich bin. Vielen Dank dafür.
Ja, Herr Bürgermeister, wenn man das auch so sieht, die Schüler draußen nunmehr schon mit Eis versorgt. Und
Mr. Mayor, as we can see, all the pupils out there have already their ice cream, and I heard the big band. So the world seems to be perfect here. Congratulations on that. But today we're not going to have Mr. Nolte in the center of attention, who is the father of this federal state. Professor Näder, honorary guests coming from far away and from near, ladies and gentlemen, and especially dear employees of Ottobock, and we're talking about 7,000 employees approximately, who take part in this 100-year anniversary, who are with us today. This year is an important year, crowned by many 100-year anniversaries. Some of them have already mentioned, and I would like to say that we have 100 years of women election rights, and I would also like to thank and welcome the Vice President of the German Bundestag. I would like to welcome Mr. Trittin, and if I have forgotten anybody, please bear with me. I would like to welcome all members of German Parliament present here. It's an important year, and you are celebrating an important year as well. You talked about your grandfather who traveled with the ship to New York today. It is much faster to get there, but the global motivation was already existing back then. In 1927, I was already here in Duderstadt. I had the opportunity to visit you here. And Christian Wulff used to be the minister president of this federal state back then, and we experienced your spectacular products, but things have developed further. And we know that one thing holds still true for the Ottobock history. It is the following: technology serves the individual. And even if people are quite skeptical when it comes to technology, and for us Germans it is important to keep in mind how much we depend on technology, on progress, on everything, and their translation into practice. And of course the science sector and research is playing an important role here, because we have here the president of the Göttingen University, and then we have the Nobel Prize winner also with us. So you have always focused on this connection, and you have turned it to something positive for human beings. In 1919, the Orthopädische Industrie GmbH was founded, wanted to mitigate the suffering of the people which survived World War I. And you wanted to make sure that the products the people got were reliable and help them to get a better quality of life. And what Mr. Popov just mentioned is making us enthusiastic. And of course, you can assume that this field we have between people having this physical impairment and, on the other hand, a normal life is something we would like to improve and foster. And let me mention briefly, when I was a kid, I grew up close to a home for mentally impaired people and people who were not taken care of by the state were given to the church, and I lived together with psychologically impaired people working there in that home, working in the garden. It was a wonderful life. I talked to them, I worked together with them, and for me this was normality. And secondly, I graduated my studies of physics, and I graduated with difficulties, but not because of my knowledge. No, I also had to pass a sports test running 100 meters, and I failed one time, and the second time I could only pass due to the fact that people felt pity with me. So where does impairment start and where does impairment end? I mean, this is up to you how to define the range. We have a moving range, a flexible range, and this is why inclusion means that we're all part of society and we would like to profit all from a better quality of life. This is something which is important for me and all those who work in politics. This is our foundation, and thank you very much for reminding us of this task. Ladies and gentlemen, responsibility is something which was key for all the 100 years. I mean, everything is wonderful today. Your business operations are successful, and you are a role model for what was called by Dr. Weil as a Mittelstand company here in Germany. But such a company, of course, cannot profit from sunshine each and every day. It's also hard work. It is also decisions which have to be made in which direction to go. And of course, time and again, you also have to watch the competitors, what is going on worldwide. And the world is not sleeping. This is what we're all witnessing at the moment, especially in Asia, but also in the United States of America. Many companies would like to be good too. And as we are living in a transformation phase, a major one at the moment, digitalization and everything which results from that represents a new stage of economic realities and cannot be compared with inventions like printing, book printing, and digitalization as such. In these times, let me put it in a very practical manner, in these times, dominance is being discussed once again. You have to fight for it. And Emperor William II, who said that very soon the car will disappear and we would get the horse carriage again. Well, back then it was only one carriage company which turned into an automotive company. This was Karmann in Osnabrück, and all the rest, all the other producers of horse carriages went bankrupt. And this is why we have to be very careful. Mr. Näder, you said a few words about the automotive industry, and Mr. Walde, you also mentioned it. I take it very seriously what you said. Major parts of our society dare to say, well, we do not depend on an individual job. This is very dangerous to have this kind of attitude because we are sharing things differently, and some people focus on sustainability, others are focused on different technologies. It does not matter what you focus on, but things are changing. They're changing rapidly. This is a fact, and this is why we have to be very close and we have to speed up. Let me be very frank here. The new federal government of Germany, which in March will have a one-year term of office, this new government determined and improved the strategy. The strategy for artificial intelligence, for example, was overdue. We would like to have 100 new studies at the universities in this respect, but fighting for brains, for experts and skilled persons in this respect is a very harsh one, because everywhere in the world people are looking for these kind of experts, and our political sector is also quite slow from time to time, which means speed and quality count at the moment. When it comes to your industry, the combination between artificial intelligence and bionics is something which is causing an enormous revolution. So thank you very much for taking care of that. And thank you also for keeping the ethical implications also in mind, which means we care for artificial intelligence, but before we come to that, we have to prepare the basics, as we need the roads and the electric grid. This is also what we need for industrialization, and this is what we also need for the digital infrastructure. And finally, we have come to an agreement with the providers, and in 2020 we will have a 4G network of 99%. And in the Commission, we are going to discuss how to reach the 100%. And in parallel to that, we are working on the 5G expansion. In the medium and long run, we need 5G everywhere, but at the moment we need 4G predominantly. And this is a great progress, because with 4G you can watch videos, moving images. You can do a lot of things. And 5G will be required for real-time transmission for autonomous driving, for example, and also for many applications produced by you. I have a wish. You talked about the management. You said that the management has to be open for new things. And I think this is one of the weak spots here in Germany. We can only do something like that together with economy. So it's not only digitalization of products, which is important. We also have to be in a close contact with our customers. So how do the customers perceive the platform? How do they see the platform? And how can I make sure that I take the customer's perspective and translate it into a product? This is another transformation product, which is very difficult for the Germans. But if we see that at the end of the day, the customers can choose a product from a platform which is not organized by us, and every supplier, every manufacturer is regarded as a customer with all the requirements, then we will have a complete supply chain. This is what we have in mechanical engineering, in the automotive industry. This is what we have here too. And if I take a look at Dr. Näder, I can see that you already know that it's true what I'm saying. A lot has to be done, and a lot is being done already. And a part of the task we have in infrastructure, in artificial intelligence, we also have to make sure that we get the right platform in the framework of Industry 4.0. And how can we deal, how can we use all the data we have? And Germany cannot do that alone. We have in Europe different clouds and platforms. So, apart from all these questions, we also have to focus on further education, on further training all the employees in the different companies, and of course, we also have make the best possible use of the employees. Digitalization will not necessarily lead to less jobs. It will lead to different jobs, which means here a further development needs to be taken seriously. Our workflows, our employment sector is also changing. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great day, a day where we can see how good it is to have a company which is closely connected, deeply rooted in a city. So we can see that this is good for your company, but on the other hand, you're also giving something back to this city. And this is also true for many other locations, like Königssee, for example. And you've just talked about your family history. I mean, this hasn't been for granted after the First World War, having a company which was founded and then it was taken away from you in the Second World War. I can imagine how your parents have hoped to experience the day when the company comes back into your position. And Mr. Mayor, please allow me to say that this day is also a signal for the structural difficulties we have in the new federal states. Keep in mind what kind of additional value we can get from Ottobock here in Duderstadt, 70 years of Germany's reunification. And please keep in mind what has been lost very close to this location here. Some employees which did not have the opportunity to profit from what we have today. So thank you very much for coming back. Thank you for coming back, at least in part. But if you take a look at the former GDR as a whole, then it's absolutely clear that we cannot catch up that quickly. And this is one of the points which, when it comes to the domestic discussion here in Germany between the old and the federal states, leads to a lot of frustration in the new federal states. They cannot profit and look back on all the developments they've made. So now we're looking forward to celebrating with you. Now I have to go back to Berlin, and Berlin will profit from the wonderful mood I have experienced here. I can see you deeply, perfectly anchored here. I would like to thank you on behalf of Lower Saxony and on behalf of the German federal government. Thank you for everything you're doing here for Germany. I would like to wish you all the best and congratulations to you and the employees on 100 years Ottobock.